Hi, friends. Welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Rebecca. I'm documenting my GLP1 journey week by week, roughly, playing it by ear a little bit. And if you're returning, thank you so much for joining me. I very much appreciate it. And if you want to join me on my GLP1 journey, please hit the subscribe button. It means a lot to me when people decide to join me on my journey. But today I want to do a 2 month overview as opposed to the week by week. And I'm going to go over my wins and the weird moments and a real life food saga, salmon saga, you could probably call it. But specifically, I want to go over my side effects and what it felt like switching from 2.5 to 5, my 36-hour fast, of course, my weight loss, and talk briefly about my chronic knee pain and how that resolved. And I know I keep looking over here because for the first time I decided to try to type out my notes and put them on my computer screen, but now it's bothering me because I keep wanting to look over here. So let me know if that bothers you. If I may not do it this way again. So I started ZepBound 2.5 on June 24th. And that night, I felt no pain. I didn't even feel it. Didn't feel like a pinprick or anything. Nothing. But 24 hours later, I realized I didn't have any great need to go raid the pantry 2 hours after dinner. And that was mind blowing to me that what people call food noise was just gone. I had eaten a reasonable dinner and I didn't need to eat anymore. And in that moment, I felt that this was life changing for me. I felt that this was freeing in a way. And sometimes you don't realize a burden that you're carrying until it's gone. And when that noise quieted, I kind of felt at peace. And maybe this seems like I'm over exaggerating, but it really was a really big deal to me, and it still is. I still haven't had food noise, and I'm very grateful. But um let's see, where was I? So the first and second week were very mild, and in those first 2 weeks I lost 5.7 pounds, and I was really happy about that. And then the third week came, and I realized I hadn't had any knee pain in probably over a week. And I have to say that it wasn't every day, it wasn't constant, but I wouldn't go more than a day or two without knee pain prior to ZepBound. And my doctor had mentioned when I first went on it, she said, oh, it's going to help with inflammation. And she says, if you're feeling any inflammation, or she says, that's going to help resolve that. And I guess I did not realize how much inflammation I had still in my knees from 7 years ago when I had my, first problems. And I was I was kind of floored to the point where I didn't even tell anybody because I thought maybe I'm imagining this, right? So week 3, I also had another appointment with her, and I think I didn't even mention it to her. And we decided at that appointment to move me up to 5 milligrams, and I was okay with that. And so at the end of week 4, I had lost a total of 8.1 pounds, and I was thrilled. Now, the side effects that first 4 weeks were pretty mild. I did have some slight nausea in the mornings, but that was just, I think, that first week. And once I started drinking my protein shake and got about halfway through it, that was gone. And it was very mild. I did have some random headaches, but they weren't severe. I just took some Advil and they were gone. I'm not telling you to take Advil. I'm not a doctor. I'm just telling you this is what I took, and I was fine with it. And I did have one peculiar side effect that I haven't seen in the actual literature, but I have seen a couple of posts where people have said, "Hey, I just took my first shot and I'm feeling this." And so it didn't start that night. So I took it on a Tuesday night. And by Wednesday afternoon, I realized I had some achiness, some soreness behind, sort of below my neck and between my shoulders on my back. And it kind of went down my back a little bit as the evening progressed. And the next day, it felt better. And by the day after that, it was practically gone. And I do have to say that it didn't feel like an allergic reaction. It felt more like, when you get a flu shot and you have that body ache and it's sort of an immune response, your body going, oh, there's something foreign inside. And so it reacts. And that's kind of how I react to like a flu shot or a COVID shot. And I think that's what it was. And again, I haven't seen it a lot, but that is what happened to me. So getting through the first 4 weeks was pretty mild. And then I started 5 milligrams on week 5. And that's when I said, I'm going to give walking a try. And I know to a lot of people, it probably doesn't seem that big of a deal, but I walked 5 minutes in the house. And for me to walk 5 minutes pain-free and then not have pain half an hour or an hour later was huge. And I did a stupid video about it. Now, maybe I'll link it here and you can watch it. It's kind of dumb. Don't watch it. Never mind. But, and I'm still thinking about it, right? How life-changing that was for me. And I know a lot of people would say, oh, you started losing weight and so your knees felt better. No, I honestly believe that the reduction in inflammation caused by the ZepBound was what finally let my knees heal. It's been 7 years since I've been able to walk for 5 minutes straight without having to like pay for it later. You know what I mean? So I've actually been walking every day for like 5 minutes. So I'm going to increase that, but I'm just feeling really good about it. So that's how I started off week 5. I was doing great. I did notice more of an appetite suppression, but no other real symptoms. I didn't get nauseous. I didn't get constipated. I felt I was doing really well. So slide into week 6 and I decided to have a salmon salad. And I've had this salad before in the before times, before ZepBound and on 2.5, same bowl, same salad, same baked salmon on top of it. And it's one of my favorite meals. And it was too much on 5. It was not too much on 2.5. It was too much on 5. And I paid for it for about 4 days. I talked about that in another video too, if you want to go check that out. So I was trying to be more careful after that. It took 4 days to get over that. And then I slid into week 7 and I was doing well till I got to the end of the week and I basically made the same mistake. And this time it was more salmon. But it was a salmon burger. And instead of cutting it in half, I just forgot about cutting it in half, sat down to eat, and I thought, well, I'll just eat half. But I was kind of eating absentmindedly and I ate too much and I got sick. I got really sick. And I really paid for that. I did not feel good. And that's another video, I think. And so I've kind of learned my lesson. The hunger is more suppressed and I can't eat as much as I could even at 2.5, but at one time. So I'm still overall getting really close to the same daily calorie content. or daily calorie count as I was on 2.5, but I have to give it a little bit more thought. Um, except for the first day after my shot. And I did notice on 2.5 that the day after my shot, it was a struggle to think about eating, to find something to eat, to no, well, even when I had something to eat, it was like, okay, I guess I got to eat. And on 5, it was more like, okay, I'm really supposed to eat. I was really having problems getting enough calories that day. So that's when I decided to try a 36-hour fast. Now, I need to tell you, I have done this before. So 10 years ago when I lost some weight, I did fast. Did some fastings. They were a little bit longer of a fast. Um, but I enjoyed it. I know that sounds weird, but for me, it works a lot of things. I really do feel like I go into that autophagy, is that what it's called? Autophagy state, and your body just really works to get all the glucose and stuff out of your body, and then starts eating up fat when it's hungry instead of the glucose that you've already gotten rid of. So, and it kind of, there's a theory that it will, wash out the bad cells, the used up cells. I, and I wasn't eating the day after my shot anyway. I mean, there were a couple times where I only got 500 calories in, and I'm like, let's lean into it. So I did. So I eat dinner on Monday night. I take my shot Monday evening, and then on Tuesday, I don't eat. I drink a lot of water. I hydrate really well. I will drink electrolytes. And then I break the fast with breakfast on Wednesday morning with a protein shake, high protein, dense nutrition protein shake. And that's working really, really well for me. And like I said, I made sure I was hydrated. I also made sure I had good nutrition Monday going into the fast. And I find it really much easier on ZepBound than I did 10 years ago, even though I was doing fine with it 10 years ago. And so, what I do want to say though is that this is my experience. This is absolutely my experience, and fasting is not for everyone. Um, if you have diabetes, you may have medication interactions, you may have other issues that would not be served well by a fast. And so I would say before you try something like that, that you absolutely talk to your doctor. I am not I am not suggesting that everyone do a 36-hour fast. But for me, it's working. And I have looked on YouTube and I have found a couple of people, talking about it, but very, very few. And I don't know if it's because nobody's doing it or nobody wants to talk about it because they don't want to feel like, oh, I'm advocating fasting and they don't want to be responsible for somebody else. Well, I think by saying something, you understand that I'm saying to talk to your doctor first. But if you are on a GLP1 and you are fasting, let me know. And let me know if you're doing a long fast, like a 36-hour fast, or if you're doing like an eating window, only eating from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. or something like that. I would really be interested in knowing if that's what you're doing. And I think other people might be interested as well. So I'm sorry, really got off on that tangent, but I did start doing that around week 6. And on week 8, though, the interesting thing is I saw a pulmonologist because I have suspected that I have sleep apnea. And I know that ZepBound right now, for me, ZepBound is covered under my insurance, but that may change. We are in September of 2025, and people are constantly getting letters from their health insurance that ZepBound is no longer going to be covered after January 1st. And on some of them, they're not going to cover any of them if you don't have a secondary insurance. And I don't know if that's going to happen to me. And it may not happen until next summer, or I may get lucky and it won't happen at all. But if I have that sleep apnea diagnosis, then if that happens, my doctor would be able to put in an authorization, a prior authorization for obesity and sleep apnea, which would increase the chances of me getting it covered by my insurance. So that's why I'm doing it. And I have now I don't know what's wrong with my lip here. What was I saying? I have a date to pick up the little kit to bring home to do a home sleep apnea study. So I'll talk about that too. But so the numbers. So over the 2 months, I lost 18 pounds because the first month I lost 8.1 and the second month I lost 9.9. So overall, over the 2 months, I lost 18 pounds, and that averages out to 2.2 pounds a week. And I think the big things are that the cravings and the food noise are gone. And I really feel like I'm in control around food and my pantry. I can go into my pantry and, you know, grab something that's in there, and I don't have to like, oh, let's eat half a bag of potato chips. I'm just not feeling that. And it's very liberating for me. And I'm really enjoying it. And if you're here thinking about ZepBound or thinking about Wegovy or, a Tirzepatide or Semaglutide, maybe your insurance doesn't cover it. And so you're trying to think about whether it's going to be worth it for compounding. What I would say is talk to your doctor. And I understand it may not be covered under your insurance, but I would say talk to your doctor first. And I would get blood work done. So you have a baseline. So you know what your A1C is. So you know what your fasting glucose levels are. So you can find out if you're deficient, like in vitamin D or something else. And it'll give you and your doctor a baseline. And maybe everything is great and that would be perfect. But if there's something else going on, you ought to be taking care of that. And I think most of that stuff, like if you're just deficient in vitamin D a little bit, you can do that and still get on a Tirzepatide or a Semaglutide. That doesn't mean that it's going to prevent you from doing something, and it's good to know where you are so that a year from now you can do another blood test and find out how much your markers have improved. So I think that's really important. I would also want you to know that many of us have very manageable side effects. It's what I'm finding throughout the GLP1 community. Yes, some people are having a difficult time with side effects. We've all heard about it. And I think what's not talked about a lot is that so many of us are having very, very manageable side effects. And we're dealing with it. And it's not, personally, not yet. It's not like interfering with my life. And I feel like it's extremely manageable. I don't know what other word to use. It's very manageable. I would also say plan to give yourself smaller portion sizes, whether you want to or not. Just start with something small and then see how that goes. Also, staying hydrated is very, very important because we are slowing everything down. And I just believe that we just need to keep hydrated to keep everything moving, so to speak. And if you can move, speaking of moving, if you can move, GLP-1 is a tool, and I'm trying to do my part by walking 5 minutes a day. And I know that doesn't sound like very much, but for me, it's huge. And I hope to increase that. And I hope to get that up to like going out and being able to, walk out in nature for an hour or something. And that's a goal. And I hope I get there, and I plan to get there. That is in my plan. And so I'm excited about this journey. I really am. And I really appreciate you listening to me. And I thank you for being here on this 2 month review. And drop a comment below. I think they're helpful for other people. And I will come back with my 9 week review, and I'll give you some more details about the sleep study that I'm about to do. And I think that's about it for right now. So see you soon. Bye.